Mann Danute. I'm the head of the Small Business Council for the Chamber. And I have the wonderful pleasure of introducing both Don and Steven to speak today. Just for background purposes at the Small Business Council, it seems like we are constantly talking about issues related to what these professionals are going to be talking about today. Whether it's hiring, firing, retaining employees, what to do with problem employees. There's always something that comes up in our meetings. So bringing this topic to you guys is something that we really do value. Immediately to my left is Don Shea. He is the Director of Business Services at Tri-Parish Works, which is the workforce development agency for St. Tammany, St. Bernard, and Plaquemines parishes. So he's got a big job. Prior to that, he was the CEO of East St. Tammany Chamber of Commerce, after having been the Director of Economic Development for St. Tammany Parish. He's had a long career in public service and government in multiple cities, and we're fortunate to have him speak today. He also received his bachelor's degree from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and he has a Master of City Planning degree from Harvard. Additionally, Steven Cochran is the founder of Impression MT, a leadership coaching company that helps business professionals develop the skills and behaviors that align with their goals. He's got over 15 years leading teams in the hospitality industry and decades of study in psychology and communication. He brings practical and unique insights to leadership. His work expands people's understanding of behavior, how we act, how we interact, and what that means for influence and reputation. He helps clients get specific about what they want, see clearly what they're doing, and close the gap between the two. I could use you in my personal marriage counseling.
I'm working on my master's from Harvard.
There we go. Anyway, we're going to let them go ahead and take it and run with it. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, man. You can always tell a Harvard man, but you just can't tell him much. That was a long time ago. But Tri-Parish Work, let me just describe Tri-Parish Work so you can get a context. It all starts with the Federal Department of Labor. We're funded through a program called Workforce Initiatives and Opportunity Act, WIOA. They distribute the money to all the states. In our case, it's to the Louisiana Workforce Commission. And they further distribute it to 15 sub-regions around the state, and we are one of them. There's a little bureaucracy involved because it's federal, but we try to make it as easy as possible. Most of our staff works with job seekers, people that are resume writing, interview skills, capability assessments, that sort of thing. And we do training. The two biggest ones these days that we pay for are truck drivers, CDL drivers, and nurses. So those are growth industries. Two of us, including me, don't work directly with the job seekers. We work with employers to listen to what their workforce needs are and see if any of our programs can match up. The kind of the crown jewel of those things is a program called On-the-Job Training, which I manage. And it's basically if you're going to hire somebody that doesn't have all the skills necessary to be 100% effective on day one, presumably some supervisor is going to have to get distracted in order to train that person up, and we provide a grant to offset the cost of that distraction. In our case, it varies from all those 15 sub-regions have their own qualifications, but ours currently is that you can get up to $9,000 per new hire over a 6-month period. And it doesn't always come out that way. They average around $6,000, but it can be pretty lucrative to employers. So we encourage you to check that out as well.
So with my company, Impression Management, what I do is branch out leadership skills to everybody that works in any organization, because that particular skill set is transformative for your professional relationships. I came up in hospitality, so it's people all the way down. And one of the things that I spent the latter half of my career doing is just development. I had 14 different locations to oversee, something like 100 people on the staff, 8 or 9 managers. And what I had to do to maintain all that was essentially train and mentor in leadership skills all day, because relationships is absolutely everything in business, which we're going to touch on, because culture is the most important thing if you're trying to attract people or if you're trying to get in on a new business. So Don and I spoke a little bit before this, and we both agree that we'd like to leave open as much time as possible for questions and answers, so I'm going to keep this part short. And I think we can move right into point of view from job seekers and employers.
Go ahead. Oh, by the way, we've worked together quite a bit in the past, and Steven is a regular at our staff meetings and training us up the way he just described.
As best I can. You can't tell a Harvard man anything, actually. It's not much. It's not anything. So a point I'll make from the point of view of job seekers, and I think it's one that's different, notably different. You're not going to be able to match anybody that you're in the company that you're walking into. You're not going to be able to match them in experience, and chances are you're not going to be able to match them in knowledge. So one of the big things that's being left out of conversations now, one of the most vital skills that you can bring is work ethic and humility. When you come onto a job and you're trying to establish yourself as somebody that can be relied upon, the best thing you can do is put your ear to the grindstone and be as useful to everybody as you possibly can be. Don't spend time trying to show everybody what you know. That was done in the interview process. But being a hard worker and somebody that can listen and take directives is, to me, the number one thing that can be done right now. And work ethic, if you speak to people that are trying to hire now, it is old school work ethic and just being able to deal with demands from your company that is lacking the most. I think that's something that we were talking about before that you've seen a lot of.
That's right, that's right. I'm reminded of the word resume when you talk there. The only point of the resume is to get the interview. And so that's why we constantly consult people to say, look, don't start talking about, you're a hard worker or you have this sort of compassion to make life better at this company. Tell them about your background, your experiences, and your accomplishments. And that's what's going to get you in the door. In fact, we had a guy come in that had an average resume the other day, but he really wants this particular job opening at Associated Wholesale Groceries, AWG. And so we tailored his resume for that, and he got the job within one day. So you've got to be very conscious of that. Don't have a blanket resume that's supposed to be good for everybody. You have really tailored to any individual job that you're seeking.
And then equally important from the point of view of the employer. And this to me is near and dear to my heart. I work with a lot of small business owners, and those are the ones that their teams matter because they're in the growth stage. There are two ways to compensate people for their time, okay? And this is something that I call specific generosity. You can compensate them with money, but also appreciation is left out of the equation far, far too often. With specific generosity, it requires you to learn about people, what matters to them, and make sure that they know that you care, that they are giving you their time. I think we all hear about social media and how that's changing the landscape for absolutely everything. Everybody's in a competition now for everybody in their meaning. They find meaning everywhere else right through their phones. So when you have people on your team, are you spending enough time to get to know exactly who they are, but also on a daily basis, making sure they know that not only are you going to pay them, that is something that we kind of set aside for a moment because it's the basics. If you're not paying people living wages and that sort of thing, that's one set of problems. But you know how everybody knows somebody that stays in a job for the benefits, stays in a job for the pay. But you can get people to stay in a job that may not be able to compensate them completely on an hourly wage basis if they feel like they're part of something that's worth it. And they feel like they're a part of a team that values their time.
Exactly.
And that is separate from their outcomes. Meaning if someone comes to work in your organization and they're giving you a good faith effort to achieve whatever goals you've laid out for them, and they fail, you still should appreciate their time. This is not for people that are coming in and they're just trying to get by, the bare minimum type people. I'm talking about people that really are putting forth the effort to make an impact on your company. Showing them that you appreciate the hours they have is the most valuable thing you can do for anybody that is new. If all of us are lucky, you'll live to be 80. But you're only awake for 54 of those years. Time is the most valuable thing anybody has. It's a visceral, primitive thing to show people that you value their time when they give it to you. I think that's one of the most important things that people trying to employ don't pay attention to. It's all about benefits packages and 401k, and that's all great. But if you don't get the basics done, you're not going to keep people engaged in what you're doing.
You know, another way of saying that to me is acknowledge their accomplishments in a way that the rest of the team gets it, and that will help you with retention for sure. You know, and I'm thinking of the case of Bluebell Ice Cream up here in Slidell.
Classic.
It's a great one. Those guys they drive trucks and load up grocery stores, and the pay's okay. It's not the best, but it's livable. They never have any turnover. In fact, the guy who just retired as general manager of this store went to Texas A&M, is where he's from, went to work for Bluebell right after, and he's stayed there for 40 years. It's got company culture and appreciation of what people are doing. So don't underestimate that, the non-financial stuff. It's really...
And it's free ice cream. You get free ice cream.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think something else to touch on with that word culture, and this is something I do a lot of, is words like that get real blurry real fast. They can mean 50 different things depending on who you're talking to. So it's important to kind of break those down. And for me, specific generosity is one of those pieces. But people you have to learn about in two different ways. It's people as individuals with stories and personalities and the way that they want you to see them. That's part of it. But there's also the human side of it. There's the part that all of us share that we can't get around. How do they deal with stress? When it comes to acknowledging their accomplishments, are they the sort of person that is uncomfortable being pointed out in a group? That's the sort of person that you need to talk to one-on-one about the things that they're doing. So there's different ways to approach, and the question for the employer is, are they spending the time to learn about the people? Because paying people is almost the easier thing for you to do.
Yeah.
It's the easier thing to ask for because you don't have to explain it. Everybody knows why you want to get paid more. So you go and say, I want a $2 raise or whatever it is, and paying someone more is almost easier than anything else because you don't have to learn about them. You don't have to learn what makes them tick. And you can just say, here's $2, go build my culture.
You know, I have employers tell me all the time, just bring me somebody with the soft skills and I can teach them the rest. And there's a lot of nodding of the heads around, that's good. It's true, and our experience is the younger you are as a job seeker, the less you have of that. Show up on time, be polite, dress properly, yes sir, no sir, all that kind of stuff. And that's also important, tied into my earlier remark about resumes, because how long do you think the average hiring manager spends looking at a resume? 8 seconds. So you got to get their attention. I told that to Steven over a cup of coffee last week, and he started going, that's plenty of time.
8 seconds is a long time.
Yeah, so just be aware of that, and we do the training programs, as I mentioned earlier. We've got employers that have really changed their game because they want to take advantage of these incentives that we have. And of all the 15 regions in the state, we're almost always number one in terms of job placement. We serve over 12,000 people a year, from some funded, some non-funded, but just other technical services, and we can do that. I like to say that all our services are free, but it's actually they're prepaid because it's tax money. So if you don't take advantage of that, you're leaving money on the table. Okay.
There's one of the things you just reminded me of to touch on, and that is with expectations, especially from the side of the employer. Do not expect anybody to work harder than you. Don't expect more from anybody that you're not willing to give in front of everybody on a regular basis. Yep. You're setting yourself up for disappointment, you're setting them up for failure. If you are the sort of person that is trying to get into a job, expect more of yourself than anybody else. You're the new person.
That's right.
Act like the new person. Act like you need to impress not the person that hired you, you need to impress everybody you're working with. Because when you're not in the room, they're the ones that are going to talk about you. That's what a reputation is. Reputation is everybody else's opinion of you.
That's right.
It's one of the hardest things to build and the easiest things to give away. So everybody that works with you, your peers, people that you think, oh, well, he doesn't have authority, I don't have to work as hard when he's around. That's the opposite of the truth. Stay away from the people that are trying to teach you shortcuts. Those are not the people that are trying to, that are going to benefit your long-term interests.
When I was the CEO of the East Chamber, I was always the first one there in the morning and the last one to leave because I didn't want people to think that it was casual about the actual business hours. I've worked at other places where the boss would always come in 15 minutes late. Guess what happened? Everybody else did too. Or 12 minutes late, so they were there before him.
As well they should.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's part of this amorphous thing called culture. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and you could break it, like I said, you could break it into 20 or 30 different things, the culture. But it all boils down to relationships with people.
Yeah. It's like any business that you're in. It's about networking and relationships and communication.
No.
No matter what industry you're in. Yeah.
You went to Harvard for the skills. That's sure we all did.
Went to Harvard on the Bayou.
Is that a bar?
Nippon State, man, it's Harvard on the Bayou.
I've never heard it.
I've never heard that
referred to as
either.
that. I'm sure it lives up to the reputation.
It is.
But with that, are there any specific
we could go on.
situations that anybody's been through, looking down the pipe, kind of foreseeing, that we can bring to the table and get a little bit more in real life about this?
Yeah. Time for the interaction.
So you mentioned a lot of times we'll have people that are with the members of chamber that are seeking to move up in the ranks. And it's a sensitive moment when you're trying to find something and be open for hire, but still being loyal and be good to your own job. And that's something that people really have a hard time with. So what would you suggest to someone that is wanting to put out resumes, but kind of secretive or in the most respectful way possible?
I would hope that they had, unless there is
You got the chicken, but I don't
a problem with the place that they're
They put
at,
his name
if
on
they've
the menu.
done their due diligence to make
Steven.
sure there isn't somewhere within their
Yeah.
current organization for them to go. Perfect example of this is I sat in a management position in the company I worked for a long time, and there wasn't really another place for me to go up to. There were general managers and things, and so I asked about it and was told, there really isn't much here, but just my asking triggered something in them that they created a position and gave me that one. Because if you have put forth enough of an impressive effort, they're going to want to keep you.
That question alone is enough to be impressive to the boss or the owner. What can I do to enhance my role in this organization?
And if it's not, that tells you something about the organization.
Yeah.
But there's not an organization that I've worked with or really heard of that can afford to let their quality people be putting out resumes. So I would first exhaust where I was, and having done that, if I've been thoroughly disappointed, then I don't think there needs to be anything secretive about it. Honesty is always the best policy, but that doesn't mean you need to be honest right now. You can do what you have to do to secure another job, but it doesn't mean that you need to be telling everybody exactly what you're doing, because it's you on your personal time. Would be my advice in a nutshell.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
As a leader, kind of approach dealing with teams. One is the leader in the relationship you create with employees and members of the team that have very different leadership styles in their own right, communication, work kind of styles in their own right, and empowering team members who are quite different, who are working together collaboratively to work well together. Communication styles very different. Approach to work can be very different. Personality styles can be quite different. But you're working on a team towards a similar goal.
Yeah. Well,
How do you as a leader kind of approach that?
let me take a quick shot at that, and Stephen, I'm sure will follow. At Tri-Parish Works, we have something we do every Tuesday morning at 8:15 and Thursday afternoon at 3. It's called the Huddle, where all of us get together and we say, what do we hear, what do we know, what do we need, what do we know, who's doing what to who. So everybody is intertwined that way. It really builds a team. And there are different presentation styles, and there are people that are a little reticent compared to others, but everybody gets their way, and they don't have to change. And so I really like that, and particularly the team building part of it.
So meeting with the group is always going to be beneficial. We've all heard of meeting to death, so it can be overdone, that's for sure.
Oh, sure.
Group cohesion from the leader's standpoint, and let's separate the word leader from authority. You do not need authority to lead.
No.
Leadership is a reputation. Authority is something gifted to you, and most people don't respect it. Leadership is a respected thing because it's authentic, and you have to build it yourself. Group cohesion is built one at a time first. So if you're standing at the head of a group, having a meeting or conversation, or just kind of just generally the way that they think about you, it's built out of that one-on-one, and you can't skip that. It's got to be built from you spending enough time with other people to have an empathetic connection. Empathy is a thing you do, it's not a thing you feel. It's making sure everybody on your team knows that you see things from their perspective. Does not mean they're going to get their way, doesn't mean major changes are coming, but it means that they're at least understood. People are not going to understand before they're understood. Doesn't work that way. So once you've done that, then you bring the group together and force them to interact with each other. You can do it through question and answer, you can do it through role play. Some people role play makes them a little bit uncomfortable, but it's important that you are not standing up pontificating the way that Don and I are doing right now and kind of just bestowing upon them the knowledge that they need and then, go along and take it. It's got to be an interactive conversation and it cannot be shortcut. So if you're trying to get a year's worth of cohesion in 3 months, your goal is not going to align with your behaviors. It just won't. But you can, the best thing that you can do is make sure you're putting your time for, leadership is hard because it requires a lot of you. If you're putting the time forward to build your individual relationships, the group is going to come along. And the differences become a strength rather than a source of friction. But it takes time. You cannot shortcut the time, and everybody wants, because of this right here, everybody wants to watch a 5-minute YouTube video and call it culture or whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't work like that. And that's why right now, I think the average for someone to stay in a job is nearer to 5 years. You go back 20 years, it was 12 and 13 years. It wasn't odd to stay in a job for 20 years, 20 years ago. Now you're weird. People leave for $3 for 3 years, and they're somewhere else, and they're somewhere else, and they're somewhere else. Can't build things that way.
That reminds me of
Good
some
question.
statistics. Historically, full employment has been defined as 4% unemployment, or less than 4% unemployment. That's where we are. And we're a little bit better in Louisiana than the nation is, but just by a fraction. But the thing that's different now, and this is since COVID, is a lesser known measure, which is called the labor force participation rate. And that used to be about 80% of the people that were employable were in the workforce. Now it's like 61%. That's dramatic. Part of it was because of people taking early retirement. Part of it was people going into starting their own businesses with that big federal subsidy that came through in 2001. If I don't want to work at Tri-Parish anymore. I want to start that snowball stand that I've always wanted to do. And so if you're self-employed, you're not in the workforce. But the biggest effect was on women, particularly mothers of young kids. They had to stay home and take care of these kids while all the schools were closed. They start doing the math in their head and they say, wait a minute, it cost me this much to work and to go to work and to dress for work and all that. Then I got this child care cost on top of it. The net is really very small. Let's try to do without that as a family. And there's tons and tons of that out there, not just here, but all over the country. And particularly in customer forward jobs like restaurants, hotels, retail, where women were disproportionately high percentage of the workforce, but those places had to suspend activities for months and months and months. So just something to keep in mind when you think about, we've got the unemployment rate's really low, but hirings are down, but that's because retention is up. Employers are less likely to let somebody go for fear of not getting somebody just as good in replacement as they used to be. So it's a mixed bag of, you got to be careful about all these different measures and signals that you may make the wrong conclusion about where we're going as an economy. But
You make a good point. I would piggyback on that a little bit about this appreciation of people's time. So if you take that mother who decided to get back in the workforce, appreciating the fact that she's doing that. You don't have to necessarily even know that that's what she's leaving at home, but the fact that she or her husband or whoever is willing to bring their kids to daycare so that they can come work at this organization, appreciation is huge. And it's so much simpler than I think a lot of people think that it is. So for example, when I started in the quarter, I worked overnight, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I was a bar back, and I had a great mentor, And this guy would ask me to do 30, 40, 50 things a day, every day, constantly giving me things to do over and over again. I easily could have gotten frustrated with the job just on the volume of demands that were coming my way. But every single time he had something that I needed to accomplish, it came the same way. Steven, do me a favor, grab me the video out of the security office and meet him in the office, please. Every single time. I'd go, grab whatever he needed, or check on what he needed me to do, or finish whatever it was, meet him in the office. He'd stop whatever he was doing, he would turn to me, thank you. Every single time. Sometimes it can be that basic.
Oh, thank you.
Basic, please, thank you, acknowledgement, appreciation. I never left that, and I got paid okay, all that was fine. I never left that job without understanding that this particular guy, when I showed up at the job, he appreciated that I was there. And there were a lot of nights on a 16-hour shift on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter that it didn't have to be that way. Could have left really pissed off. Never did, because of this guy.
That's a mentor.
That he taught me a lot.
Let me just briefly describe something, particularly for the the Small Business Council here. We do these services. We used to do these what we call mega job fair twice a year, once at the Harbor Center and once at the Castine Center. We get 150 or so employers and 800 or 1,000 job seekers. COVID changed all that forever. So we've pivoted, like everybody had to do in COVID, pivot. And so we now do sector-specific job fairs. We did one in March for aerospace and advanced manufacturing. I'm planning to do one next year in cybersecurity, growth industries like that. We've done it for healthcare, first responders, but we can also do single employer hiring events. So if you're interested in filling more than one job, we can stage an event for you like that and publish it on our social media outlets. We get a ton platforms. We get a ton of hits on those, and they've been very successful when we've done them now. We need about 6 or 8 weeks in advance to market these things, but they're free, and we can do it at your location or at ours or a third place. So if you're interested in that, please contact us afterwards.
Free plug.
I'm wicked smart.
So when you say contact us, who do we contact to try to works?
Me.
We're a job seeker is always.
Well, job seeker, you'll work with what we call a career specialist, and they'll do an initial assessment on you and that resume writing and all that stuff that I mentioned. If an employer contacts me about an employee, we'll reverse it that way. But just call, and I've got some business cards with me. But our office in Slidell is at 985-646-3940. We also have a small office at the Nunez campus in Chalmette, and an occasional office in Belle Chase in Plaquemines. But that is a very, very bizarre footprint, if there ever was one, for three parishes. But
I'm curious of the room, how many of you are here thinking about this from the employer side?
Can I say that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
And then from the job seeker side.
Good. That's about how life works.
So what are the struggles from the employer side right now that you were hoping we would discuss here?
So there was a small business council meeting that brought on this event and suggestion, and it was because one of our small business members who could not be here today, but I think would appreciate you answering, he is finding that he is competitive in what he's offering people, the pay compared to other people. He's finding that he's even more generous, culturally feels good, he doesn't have any complaints that way, but they are not choosing him. It's an $18 an hour business, and they're taking jobs that are $15 an hour instead of his, and he doesn't understand why. And so what steps, or what would you look into yourself, and you're noticing your business that people aren't attracted to you and your benefits? Where do you go from there? What do you do?
What industry?
His industry is physical, so it's, I don't want to throw him out, but it's.
Fair.
Yeah, contract.
Okay. The first thing I would ask him, were he here, is has he thought outside the box about where he's looking for talent? This is something that Don and I have talked about. Tri-Parish, one of the things they do, one thing Louisiana is doing now that I'm very, very proud of, is they are putting money into letting kids know that there are vocational schools, that there are trade schools. And that's something we've been missing for years.
Yep.
And that relationship with the technical colleges can be a source of new ideas for employers. Are we making connections with those people? Are we visiting the technical colleges to speak to professors who have students who may want internships? And rather than just focusing on Indeed, putting a post on Facebook, if those things are not working and you're not planning on closing the business, we've got to keep branching out. So that would, the first thing would be to challenge anybody in that position of, are you really shaking the tree to see where the talent could come from in different places?
Yeah.
Because if you're all competing in the same pond, you have to make the pond bigger. And go ahead. Please.
Another free service, this is another plug for us. The Louisiana,
They do a lot. They do a lot.
The Louisiana Workforce Commission has you register as an employer there, you can set up a recruiting account, and it's all free. And they have all the job seekers that are registered in the state system are in there. And you can filter it in different ways, like 25 miles from this, or bachelor's degree in that, or whatever it is. And we come up with short lists like that all the time for employers, and that's really helpful. And you don't have to spend all that money with Indeed, you know.
For me, just, I don't know what this person's
Yeah,
situation
please.
is, but I know for me personally, like every job interview that I have ever been on, I have never been nervous or whatever, because I'm actually interviewing
Thanks.
them. Like, you have to.
You actually what?
You think that I'm selling myself to you? No, you have to sell your business to me. And so, I'm not saying I'm a terrible interview person or whatever, but I mean, that job interview is actually a two-sided transaction. It's not just the
Oh, yeah.
person
Oh, yeah.
selling themselves because I need a job. It's in reverse as well. You know, we were talking about the reading of the tell me about, I would not be interested in working there because of how
Yeah,
they handled that
yeah.
interview. That's two-sided.
And my advice to job seekers is always find out whatever you can ahead of the interview about that company, so you can use some of their jargon and get the attention of the interviewer. You know.
Stump the stumper.
Stump the stump.
But please.
Yeah.
I used to have a construction, industry company, and we went every route you could possibly imagine to find good employees, and it was very challenging. That's what I'll say. We even went the vocational school route. One of the problems that I found with them, and then maybe this is different, but they set their kids up with the expectation that they should come out of this making $25 an hour, when really the job market for what they were applying for was 50.
Yeah.
And I guess as somebody who's been the Indeed route, the vocational school route, the nonprofit route, anything I could do to try to find a good employee. I mean,
Yeah.
what is your take on, I guess, some of the vocational aspects of?
We are like this with North Shore Tech, and our office in Chalmette is actually on the Nunez campus, so we have good relationships there. And in fact, in North Shore's case, I can think of 3 examples where they've actually tweaked their curriculum to needs that we identified that the employers need. Best example is welding. All these programs in steel welding. Well, Textron is a big employer here, and they need aluminum welders. It's a fundamentally different science. So we told that to North Shore Tech, and they went out and found an aluminum welding instructor, and a bunch of kids are through that. We are one of our 7th or 8th cohort now of a dozen or so, and they all get hired, some of them before they even get the certificate. So it's a matter of matching things up. I talked a little bit earlier about the Aerospace and Advanced Manufacturing career fair that we did in March. We had 3 panels. It was very well attended. We had 3 panels there. The first panel was employers in those industries and what they see the needs in their industries are in our own company and what the future looks like. The second was educators from the North Shore, and we had Tulane and we had Southeastern Louisiana University as well. And they talked about how, like the example I just gave you, about how they try to tweak things so that the offerings that they have are responsive to the needs of employers. And the third one really brought the house down, the third panel, that was success stories of young people that had gone into that industry and who their mentors were and what they liked about that and what triggered them. We filmed it like you're filming this today. We sent it to every school in our 3 parish area so the kids could get a sense of that early on. And so there's a great way to build a career pathway that way.
There's one thing also, Eva, to keep going on your question specifically, and this leans a little bit more toward creativity, and it's specific to pay and that kind of thing. I've seen it done successfully where rather than a higher hourly wage up front, you can trade that for a signing bonus of some sort. So if you have great culture and you're sure of it, and you're constantly double checking that, because it's not something that runs on its own. It's one of the hardest things about maintaining it is especially if you're the leader and want people to see you that way. You can call yourself whatever you want. If people don't see you that way, it doesn't matter. But constantly making sure that culture is what you think it is. If you're that sure, then all you need is to get their foot in the door. And the emotional resonance of a signing bonus, rather than the promise of after you give me all these hours, I'll give you some money, can get them over the threshold so that they're with you for 2 and 3 and 4 weeks and they can feel the culture. They're okay with the hourly. They've got the bonus up front, and you might have gotten an employee that way.
That's a very big factor in healthcare these days, particularly in nursing staff, which has dwindled something fierce since COVID. So they, for exactly the reason you said, Stephen, they want to get the foot in the door so they get a sense for what's going on in that institution. It's not always hospitals; it could be private nursing services, but it's a big part of the equation.
Now, if you're throwing around nursing pay and you're still not getting people, I think he's in the wrong business, whatever it is.
Sir.
So, I've worked in this type of field before I have to learn, and part of owning a laborer's type of job is you have to have a goal that encapsulates the person that you're hiring goal, right? So it's like, if you hire me for $18 an hour, and in 3 years I'm still making $18 an hour, might not be as happy as that. But if you have like a goal to say, look, if you work for this long, we'll train you, we'll get you where you need to go, and then you can get in a better position in 2 to 3 years. Promise to be important, especially in those conditions.
You know, listening to you reminds me of an employer you might not think of as a big deal, and that's Waffle House. And they have a very, very articulated upscale thing where if you work through your way through this, within 5 years you can be making 6 figures. I mean, think about
So
that.
it's the same thing. So when you're at that lower position, it's like, okay, I'm going to work this job, but I want it to turn into something really good one day.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to be, especially like in the labor field, if you want to have really good labor workers for you, your company has to encapsulate not just your goals, but it has to be big enough to take on their goals too. And if they're just always going to maintain a straight track, they're not going to be motivated, so they're never going to go. And it's not to say you have to give them like a massive paycheck. It's like, look, I'm going to train you not to just be who you are now, but to make you who you want to be later. Because people who work in like I come from a really blue-collar family, and that's what they've done their whole life. It's like, look, I want to advance my skills, be a better electrician, be a better plumber, whatever it is, a contractor. And in those ways, it's like they've always had a goal of how can I stay with the woman. So if that company that your friend has, okay, I need to train this person to not just be a $15 an hour worker, one day be maybe a salary employee, maybe a co-contractor with you, or maybe take on part of his own business. It's like when you can encapsulate those dreams, then it'll make the culture a lot easier.
So he makes a good point. That's a great bridge to another question that was given by AFX Pro, Jamie Anderpont, and she had asked, she is investing a lot of money in training for her staff and making sure that part of that culture is that they feel invested in, and that's keeping her competitive and keeping people in their door. But only time will tell if that's a smart
Sure.
idea, right? That's
Sure.
early on in her business. So, to your knowledge, is it smart to do? Are you training them to go somewhere else? At what point? What is the right investment, and how much training, and how much should you be investing in new employees?
I think that's a case-by-case basis. And in my mind, it all goes back to, is the culture worth staying there for? I don't really think that there's one single answer to that, Eva. But we've seen examples really across the board where if the one thing that really stands out to me, and Steve and I talked about this once before, the sector that seems to have the most objection to, I'm training up my future competition, is real estate. And so people want to own their own brokerages and that kind of thing. and it evolves that way. But in my case, in my experience, the employers there that don't really mind losing the people that way as long as it's bettering the person. And they're proud of the fact that they can help train up people to support that industry, whether or not they're on the same payroll.
Go for excellence.
Yeah.
You will not. You won't lose. Overtraining, if it's done well, it's quality, not task work. Just busy work type thing. It does not, in my opinion, doesn't steer you wrong. To give one answer to what Don said cannot be given in one answer. Okay? No Harvard, but always go to make your people as absolutely as best you can. And if they feel appreciated, they're going to give it back, or they're going to bring you ideas. You do not know what's going to come out of that. I mean, how many people have gotten ideas when they least expected it? It's the same exact thing. If you put all that into your people, yes, you will lose 2 or 3, but 10 will stay.
And they may bring their friends.
And you cannot underestimate constantly treating your people as though you want them to be excellent. And then let them go be excellent over here. Now you've got possibly a new partner. Who knows? They may branch out and they create relationships and they not handle something and they know who to call. You just never know. Just go for excellence would be my only advice.
And Eva, one last point on the previous employer. I would definitely take a really hard look at where the breakdown is. Like, are they doing people, are they not finding, if you think about it like a marketing funnel, if you're not finding a talent pool that's rich enough, maybe you're looking in the wrong place, and there might be more creative places to look for potential talent. But if you've got talent that's talented, you would have made the hire, if not for them to deny that and take another job, that's a very different consideration than you just can't find talent at all that are interested. And also, if it's closing the deal and the business owner isn't, to their point, selling the business well enough to the employee for all of these different reasons that we think about investing in talent and empowering them, lifelong curiosity, investing in your people, maybe they don't need to hear it from the owner, but they need to hear it from the most tenured employee of why they've stayed around so long, and why they love working here. Because it's going to come from a much more authentic place than if the employer is just trying to sell you. Because they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear if they're really desperate. But at previous jobs, every potential employee, if they made it that deep down the road, they would meet with every single team member before a final decision was made. And oftentimes, the decision for that employee to take that job came down to the conversations that they had with the team, not with the employee.
Good point. Good point. Mm-hmm. Well, if you look at the broad spectrum here, which is what I have to do every day, the sectors that are hurting are the trades. Parents push kids to college that sometimes they don't know what they want to do. They get a degree in finance and then they hate numbers and they got a pile of debt. So we've encouraged, particularly the community colleges, to focus on HVAC and plumbing and electricity and carpentry and construction, because we can show that those are good jobs and stable. And my favorite example there is we just finished our 5th year yesterday of what we call the Career Exploration Summer Academy, where we bring 25 kids into the North Shore for a month or 6 weeks and take field trips to employers, have faculty members come in on the soft skills stuff. And my job was to get an employer every day in the section called Lunch and Learn, which you bring in lunch for 25 kids. Tell them about your business, your career, your own personal story, and people get interested. Well, the first year we did this, I was having lunch with a friend, and she said her son had just finished his first year at Southeastern, and he says, "Mom, I'm going to take a year off." Well, she knew that damn well meant he wasn't going back at all. So I said, "Well, let's get him into the summer academy. They were just starting." They did. He got fascinated by welding. Who knew? I mean, you can't find that at Southeastern Louisiana University. And he got so fascinated by it, he went to North Shore Tech, got certified in it. Now he makes $45 an hour, and he has no college debt. So that's a great way to start out. So the world's full of stories like that. I just love telling them.
And those jobs are not replaceable by AI.
That's right.
No.
That's right. That's the big
And
fear.
never
Right?
will be.
You know, any business, no matter what industry you're in, there's one thing you need, and that is certainty. And we have the most uncertain climate right now between tariffs.
Yeah.
That was the most Googled word in March, by the way, worldwide was tariffs. Between that and AI and the threat of AI and how can I use this as a tool rather than as a threat. Then when you have the CEO of Amazon come out and say, we're going to save thousands of employees by using AI, I don't know how those AI guys can lift boxes. I just don't know. So they just got to find a way to use it. And we're in the very early stages of this. It's just coming on pretty fast.
If you're not using it as a tool, I would suggest starting to use it as a
Yeah,
tool.
he uses that too.
It can.
Every day.
I use it a lot, and it can augment a lot of thinking, note taking, simple things. But the beautiful thing about the trades is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, gonna need that HVAC guy to get in your attic. It's never gonna change. Yeah.
To fix the AI.
Anything else top of mind for anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Kind of as a separate topic, but y'all kind of touched on it, how to become a leader in your team without having a managerial position, just like as a team member to kind of take that role, take on extra responsibility.
That's one for you, Steve.
My favorite question. Separating authority from leadership is, to me, that's most of what I do, because a lot of people get confused and they think, well, I don't need to learn leadership skills because I don't have anybody to lead. But it's got to go the other way around. And there's some words that are associated with it that are rather uncomfortable, like humility, empathy, things like that. As you start to separate yourself from the judgments you make about the people around you and try to be as helpful as possible to those people. Be reliable when you give your word. Make sure you're always working on your own knowledge skills that pertain to the job that you're doing. And most importantly, build personal relationships based on the other person's story. So when you're listening to someone talk to you, don't be thinking of the answer that you're going to give. Ask more questions than you give answers. Leadership is just a reputation. When things hit the fan and you want to be the person that people can look to as either a source of calm or a source of knowledge, that is built when things are calm. Constantly. It's a constant small ball game to play. That way when the stakes get larger, you're the one that people automatically look to without thinking about it. What's your name? Gabriella. So as that grows, doesn't matter how big the team is either. When you're not there, it's, man, every time I ask Gabriella for something, she always follows through. She does not overpromise and underdeliver. Is a huge one.
Yeah.
Don't tell people you're going to do things and then not do it.
Oh my God, that's fatal.
It is, but the opposite of it is crucial, because that's what everybody's looking for, is somebody that is reliable. And then you're constantly just learning about people as they are, not just the personal stories, but human beings. Learn about how stress affects people, because there's good kinds of stress and there's bad kinds of stress. Learn about how when you're watching someone behave a certain way, you're not watching them, you're watching how they regulate their emotions, really. So it reduces the judgment. And it's piece by piece by piece. And it takes some time, but it's sticky.
You know, Stephen, listening to you reminds me of an old phrase that I haven't used in a while. You know, everybody says, think outside the box. Well, here's the secret. There's no box. Just think. Think what the situation calls for, you know, and don't worry about the hierarchy on the
No, it doesn't
organizational
matter.
chart.
It doesn't matter. Put other people first and follow all the implications of that, and you will turn around one day and people will be asking you questions. People will be wondering what your opinion is on things.
Yep.
It's a really good, I love that question.
What happened to lunch?
That's it there.
It's cold.
What did you say?
I said, what happened to lunch?
Working on bringing entrees out.
I was like, TikTok, guys, sorry.
Yeah.
Don't get me either.
Good job.
Immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So, Steven, one of the things that you were just talking about, I know, like, I've been reading a lot of books lately, and everything you were identifying about leadership and, you know, I guess validating people and listening to them versus, kind of coming to that defensive posture. Are there any resources that you recommend,
Yes.
Tons.
Yes. It would depend on what sort of avenue you're trying to go down. And it also, one of the things I go through with people a lot is how they like to learn. We are in an amazing time as far as gaining information, whether you are or not a reader, YouTube, podcasts, TED Talks, the gambit. So there are some authors that I like a lot. If you're more of a reader, guy named Robert Cialdini. He's a professor at Arizona State. He's kind of considered a very high authority on influence and persuasion. He's written a few books. There's a biologist who studies stress named Robert Sapolsky that I think is phenomenal. And that list is kind of endless. There's Brene Brown, who's a therapist.
I've been
who's
meaning to
phenomenal.
ask you this since we had coffee last week. He was reading this book called Why Zebras Don't Get Heartburn or something like that.
Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers.
Don't get ulcers.
It's a book about stress.
It's about stress.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you then, so that's what I'm
Yeah,
brought it up
it's
now.
a great book. It's a great book. But actually, that the question is perfect because curiosity is extremely important, and it leads to all the other things that we've talked about. It's curiosity about the individuals around you, which means you're not worried about giving them your story. They're telling you they went to the baseball game. You don't feel like you got to tell them about your experience at the baseball game. You're just asking them about their experience and just let it be about them. So the leadership part is about kind of letting go of your ego to a large extent. But curiosity is a fundamental feature of relationships that kind of gets pushed to the wayside because we're all really involved in our story. But guess what? So is everybody else around you. So if your goal is to be the person that they look toward, well, you have to give up your side of it. There's no other way to do it. Otherwise, it's inauthentic. And these words get bandied about, empathy, curiosity, all this, and people throw them around, but they don't have anything behind it. It's just like, I'm going to be a more empathetic person. What does that even mean? Get better at communication. What? Break that down for me. What does that mean? So no matter how you like to learn, always be learning. If you're a book person, terrific. Google, don't go on Amazon, go on thriftbooks.com.
Thrift books?
And try and get every book from there. Or the wonderful local bookstores that we have around here. And challenge yourself, read things that you think are wrong. Read things that you believe to be on the wrong side of the spectrum. I promise you will learn more than anything else. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with podcasts. If you consider yourself this sort of person, excellent. Go learn from the other sorts of people. And be open to the fact that you're going to be wrong a lot. There's a big difference between winning and being right. My goal is always to be right. I love to be right. I love being right more than anything. But it means I'm wrong a lot of the time. I have to be wrong, that way I can learn how to be right.
How do you lift up employees that you feel like are falling behind or maybe not hitting some of the goals that either they set for themselves or you set as a team? How do you lift them up and empower them?
Well, you got to do it behind closed doors, for one thing. You can't publicly shame someone. But if you go over what the expectations were in the beginning and how they've come along since then, and do you need any other tools from me as your supervisor or whatever that can help you excel, let's talk about that and see what kind of answer you get. And it may be something that's totally unrelated to the workplace that's holding it back. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important that you know about each other's lives. But
It's a feedback question to me. This is actually one of the first things we talked about when I got to Tri-Parish. It's one of those words that can mean 1,000 different things. Yeah. I like to take words like that and break them up into their useful parts. Feedback breaks down into compliments, apologies. Of course, I'm going to blank on it now when I'm supposed to have it. Compliments, apologies, advice, and criticism. You never criticize anybody in public. If you have for that person, it's going to be very difficult to come back from that. So that's why you never do it, because you can sour a relationship. So if that individual you're talking about that needs to be lifted up, but you've spent a lot of time breaking them down, It's not going to be easy, and you might not even be the person to do it anymore. So, and it's not reversible either. They'll never forget it. Humiliation is never forgotten. So you never criticize in person, in public, and compliments happen one-on-one. They're a lot better, and they lead you to give advice. It's hard to give advice to somebody that didn't ask you for it.
You know, Billy Nungus is fond of saying, a person might forget what you said, but they're never going to forget how you made them feel. And that's important in this case, too. Yeah.
So what if you've made the mistake? So what if you're a leader and you caught yourself, you've done this, you criticized, didn't think, what's your next step? Is it a public apology? Is it a private apology? Like, how do you fix it?
So it is a public apology. Everything about feedback has to be specific and it has to be timely. So just telling someone you did a great job, that is not a compliment. Saying I'm sorry is not an apology. It's you trying to get around doing it for real like an adult would. But if you've made that mistake, you certainly apologize in public, and you need to have thought very thoroughly about why you know it was a mistake. And the one-on-one conversation, you have to get that across. And keep your expectations low because you made a huge error. And that's why it's fundamental to not make those errors because they are difficult to come back from. And you might have put yourself in a position where you're not the person anymore, especially if it's been made more than once. There's been people in authority. It happens most often with people in authority because they know they can get away with it because they have the authority. And they ruin their ability to lead anybody. But they never even thought of it that way because they thought, oh, I can hire you and fire you. Okay, I can quit too. But you can try. You can try. And if you really mean it, and we've all had these conversations with people, you can sense it on somebody when they mean it. And if you say, look, I should not have done that. Not only will it never happen again, but I know that probably made you feel like I was pointing you out. And you go through the reasons, and you're giving yourself over. It's kind of a vulnerable thing to do.
But it works.
But it might work if you go.
That's all you can do.
It's all you can do. That's exactly right. It's all that you can do.
What's on your mind, Marissa?
Actually, thinking, what if you are the high-functioning employee, the one who everybody can depend on, so they continue to dump more and more tasks into your lap? How do you gracefully say, I'm drowning and I need something taken off of my plate without seeming like you're weak and you can't handle the task load? That's a balance.
It is. I would challenge the seeming like you're weak. That's either...
Yeah, that's self-imposed.
I would say it's self-imposed, or you've noticed a flaw in the person you're about to have this conversation with. You've noticed that that's the way they see people. And you're not going to be able to fix that person. So the way that I would look at something like that is there's two ways. There's a technical way. There's a financial way. I'm one of your high-functioning people. I want to continue to take these tasks on. I think in order to be able to do that, I could use an assistant. I could use these two people because we work really well together. Can I use them on projects? And that's kind of a business-minded way to go about it, and that would pertain to a certain kind of mindset. The other one is if you don't have a boss that looks at people like that, it is a conversation like you just said. Look, I am not afraid of challenge, but I want to succeed too. I don't want to become the person that starts dropping this ball and dropping this ball. What can we do? And it's probably not going to get solved in one conversation, but you bring it up. To me, you make yourself that much more valuable in that conversation. Because not only that, you can see your own limitations. Are you kidding? You're high functioning and you know where you're weak? Come on. That's great.
I've seen one or two examples that I can recall of just like you described, I'm drowning and I got too much to do. And so the supervisor would respond to that by increasing their pay. Well, that doesn't make them any less busy. No. And so that's not the answer. In that case, there was a separation.
That's the here's your few dollars, go build my culture thing. Yeah. It's easy. It's almost easier to do that. I'll just pay you more. I don't need that. I need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very hard to have that duality because you got to get everybody in the right seat on the bus. And some people don't have an important seat on the bus, but they fill that seat on the job. And they're not qualified or talented enough to do that job, but they're there. And they're doing the job to the best of their ability. Yeah. And then you have the ones that are rock stars and they are capable. So the capable ones tend to rise and they tend to take on all the things. And those conversations do happen. I'm getting burnt out. Well, I need help. I need to do this. And as a manager in a situation, you have those rock stars that are kicking butt. And you have those ones that if you push them and give them anything extra, well, I quit. But you need them to fill that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a delicate balance. how
It
you
exactly
look at
is.
that from
Exactly.
a manager, not just from the
Yep.
employee side, but from the managerial side as well.
Excellent point, Garen.
Was that?
Excellent point, Garen.
Yes.
I would, first, depending on the team that I had, I'm evaluating my own schedule first. Am I available enough to you? Because there's nothing that I'm asking anybody to do that I'm not capable of doing and willing to do for us to succeed. But at the same time, when you have, let's call them C players, they're there to fill roles, they give a good faith effort. How are we training them? And what specific kinds of tasks are we giving them? Can I take something off of her plate and delegate it to two different people?
Mm-hmm.
And that way it's not too much on either one of them. And I also have conversations with them about, we need you to step up and I know you're capable of it. I've seen it. You've been here for X amount of time. You excel at this, this, and this. And so what we need you two to do is work together on this project, whatever it may be. And then it's a separate conversation with her of, here's how we're going to handle this. Because the one-on-ones, again, you just can't change them out for anything else, and they've got to happen frequently.
You were asking for a friend, right? Asking for a friend.
Nah, there's teachers and there's bad teachers.
No kidding.
But burnout is the word, burnout's never financial.
Right, for sure.
No.
No one ever's burned out their credit. That's not what anybody ever means by burnout. And it's the most cited problem for anybody that's reached their wit's end. I'm just burned out. It's always emotional, and it's real. So it's the realest thing you can do. I've seen people stay in what I would call a terrible job because they felt appreciated and they love the people that they work with. And I've seen people quit jobs where they made a ton of money because they hated the people that they worked with, or they knew they weren't respected, and that sort of thing.
And the burnout occurs a lot in healthcare, particularly nursing.
Of course.
They're overworked. They're paid very well.
Yeah.
But they just can't take it anymore, particularly since COVID.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, please.
Thank y'all so much. Truly
Thank you.
appreciate y'all's insight, positive words, and anything you can do to help us. So
Thank you,
y'all
sir.
for being here.